So there's an ongoing question in our lives most of the time that revolves around how do I get from here, where I am, to there, where I want to be? And in terms of the work I do, how would dreams play any role in that? Well, first of all, we have to understand that the only idea we have about there, where we think we want to be, is our point of reference here. So let me give you an example, a personal example of that. Some years ago, I did a vision board. And the idea was, where do you want to be in 5 years? And two of the elements on the vision board was I was going to have a house in Western Massachusetts and I was going to have a big Labrador retriever. Okay. Fast forward a couple of years, and I live now in New Mexico, and I have a dog that's a Border Collie mix. He's probably got some Aussie in him. So I'm in an environment that has a beauty to it that I couldn't conceive of. I had no experience of this at the time I did my vision board. But there was an intent there that has manifested. Okay. Now, it took a little time. That's important to note. But the point is that wherever there is, even if we have a strong idea about it, is always based in our current reality. And that it may shift and change, and it may morph, and it may turn into something usually much better than we had conceived of. Fine. How do you get to there, though? Okay. Because a lot of clients come in, and sometimes they don't even know where there is. They just know here is where they are. So I want to borrow an idea from a guy named Bo Lotto, who is a neuroscientist, right? He uses A and B. We're going to use here and there. So how do you get from here to there? Well, one would think you would just figure out how to get there. But what he says is no. What you first have to do is say, not here. I don't want to be here. And that process brings up a lot of what the dissatisfaction is about being here, okay, right now. So I'll give you another example. I have a client who is a guy who has completely changed his life, learned a lot of new skills, and is doing work that he loves. And he's having a hard time making a living. And when I look at all the actions he's taken in terms of marketing and all that stuff, I mean, this guy's not sitting around, okay? But it doesn't seem to be happening, at least not enough for him to feel comfortable financially. So he brings me a dream, and here's the dream. He's in a restaurant that's very busy and there's a lot of people, and he seems to be with this very tall guy who is kind of loud and flamboyant and not his kind of person, really. And what he becomes aware of is that this restaurant's a prison, that they can all eat and drink all they want, but nobody can leave. And this guy keeps saying to him, listen, there's a small door by the front door. It's almost like a dog door. And we can sneak out. Come with me, let's go. And my client in the dream is very hesitant. It's like, well, we're going to get in trouble. We'll get caught, right? But finally, he gives in to the guy. And they quickly go through the door. And as they're walking down the street, through the picture window, the front of the restaurant, he sees that somebody who is a prisoner, who is sitting and having a wonderful dinner, looks out and sees him. And he thinks, oh my God, they're going to tell somebody. We're going to get caught. And so he and this tall guy move as fast as they can without running down the street. And they go block after block after block until it feels pretty much like they've gotten away, even though there's people all over the place. Nobody seems to be stopping them. So the tall guy says, look, let's go celebrate. And my client is going, no, we don't want to go celebrate. And the guy goes, oh, I insist. And he says, I got to change some money. So he goes into this swirling mass of people. And my client's standing outside of it and thinking, well, maybe I should just leave this guy, go off on my own. But the guy comes back out and he's changed the money, and they go into a restaurant where there's a glass case with all these cakes in it. And they each choose one, and they sit down at this table. And as they're about to start eating the celebration, they hear sirens. And my client thinks, well, they might be coming for us, but there are sirens all the time. So the best thing we can do is just stay as small as we can get. And that's the end of the dream. Okay. So as we worked on the dream, it became pretty clear that even though you can leave the prison, sometimes you take the prison with you, which was very frustrating for this guy because he had really worked hard and didn't understand why all his hard work was not paying off. Well, now we get to the payoff. How do you get from here to there? It's not a straight line. Almost never is it a straight line. And when you've done all the work, which is important to do, you can't not do that. There's no magic wand here. But when you've done all the work, what do? You respect your own process from the standpoint that we used to have something called marginal thoughts. Somebody would come into your head, oh, I wonder whatever happened to so and so. Or, gee, I read something that they just posted. I want to have a conversation with them. Or a place to go. Or a event to go to, just to see what happens. Because those thoughts are really your soul pushing on you, trying to give you some hints to engage. You know, when you have a dream and you write it down, that's very useful, but it really doesn't come alive until you tell it, okay? And there's a difference in the telling in the kind of work that I do and in the telling that can be some other kind of work. In other words, you can get an interpretation of your experience, somebody telling you what it means, in which case you don't need the experience anymore because you have the meaning, or you can animate that experience. You can make it alive in you. And the problem a lot of us have, particularly I will say a lot of us men have, is that we want a linear process. We want to make sense. And that's not the way life works. And that's not the way your growth as a person works. You're never going to lose the idea of the prison. That's baked in. What you're going to do is you're going to create so much dimension to yourself. You're going to animate your experience so much that the prison becomes a very small part of you. And it only comes up periodically, like, you know, some crazy old aunt in the attic that nobody talks to because she's nuts, right? That's where you want the prison to be. But the only way you get there is really in the not knowing. And in sitting in and allowing yourself to pursue things that don't seem to make a lot of sense, that seem random. That's how the expansion and the animation takes place. It doesn't work over time to try and force something. You know, I could have said to my client, well, look, whenever you have those thoughts, just be mindful of them and change your mind. It's not a bad thing to do. But that alone is not going to get you there. You need to respect and honor your process to get to there. And when you get to there, it's going to be very different from what you thought it was from here. So it's a little amorphous today, but that's the point. Respect your thoughts. Take action that may not seem completely aligned with what you think your goal is. Respect your thoughts. Take action. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.